Are you actually getting better at the drums right now? If the answer is yes, can you prove it? Most drummers can't, and I'm not gonna stop recording until I've solved this problem for you, because so many drummers have bad drum habits that are secretly ruining their drumming. These habits feel productive and they feel like progress, but they're actually just wasting your time on the kit. And in case you don't know who I am, my name is Gabe. I am the drummer of I Prevail. I've helped thousands of drummers make huge progress on the kit. And unfortunately, I'm gonna use myself as an example because the first habit I want to expose is one that I'm the most guilty of. And it's really shown in this clip that went viral of me kind of sucking at drums.
Go left hand. I think I found one of your weaknesses.
So you watch that clip and you go, okay, Gabe, your weak hand sucks. Like, that makes a ton of sense. You probably knew that you needed to work on that. Why was that very surprising to you? To be honest, in my drumming, when I'm playing concerts live, when I'm here in the studio playing, my left hand does not feel that weak. I mean, most of the time I'm playing grooves like, or I'm sneaking them into all my rock beats or even blast beats. So what's happening here where on the pad, I really don't have much of a problem using my weak hand, but then when it's truly isolated, it sounds like shit. And it's the habit that a lot of us have, which is using our strengths to hide our weaknesses. If you're familiar with me, you know that I'm all about attacking your main weakness on the drum kit. But the scary thing is when your strengths are pretty good, that they can overcompensate for your weaknesses, you don't even know that they're weaknesses. A great example of this would be someone who is incredibly jacked. You might see this guy walking around with a huge tank top, his muscles are busting out, and then one day you see him in shorts and realized he has never worked on his legs ever. This guy is using his strength to hide his weaknesses. And then once those are revealed, you realize, there's not the full picture here. We all have a weakness, so how can we actually identify what it is? Because it's not just about your weak hand. The key here is isolation. I didn't realize how bad my weak hand was until I fully isolated it. And it can be as easy as step one, find an exercise, a beat, groove, whatever. Don't only play it all together, play each part individually. See how your foot handles the pattern on its own. See how your weak hand handles the pattern on its own. So often we're focused on too many things, and so the idea is to zoom in on one thing at a time. Give it a score if you have to, right? And then you'll quickly become more and more aware of the main thing holding you back. And if you want a quiz that helps you identify what your progress killer is, I've got a free link in the description below. You can click that, play along with some notation. It will kind of reveal what is going on there. Check it out. I'll send it over to you for free. As I said, growing up, I was obsessed with playing drums. It's what I love to do more than almost anything. And eventually I got pretty freaking good after playing with a ton of bands and getting some more and more experience. And this all led up to a pretty big audition that would allow me to play at a ginormous church every single weekend for maybe like 5,000 people. Kind of a big deal for me. So I practiced my butt off and I walked into that audition nervous, but overall feeling good. I had only had green lights up until this point in my life when it came to drumming. So I did the audition and I got a call like 2 days later saying that I did not get it. And this was pretty crushing for me. This was maybe the first time I realized that I'm not as good at drums as I thought I was. And this took me down a very interesting journey because I had a friend, a mentor, who introduced me to a very old Jojo Mayer Technique DVD, if we remember what the hell those were. And that whole course was away from the drum kit. It was all on the practice pad. Now, I think at the time I had to buy a practice pad because I spent most of my time playing in rock bands, listening to Blink-182, playing real drum sets. And what I did not realize is that it was actually a really bad habit that was holding back some major aspects of progress. The drum set can hide mistakes, and the practice pad can reveal them. The drums make longer sustained sounds, and the pad makes very short, concise sounds, right? Kind of goes on for a while. This dies instantly. And if you have the bleed from the cymbals over everything, what is happening is all the noise is bleeding together, which can actually make your drumming sound way better. And the pad reveals a lot of different things. Like it can reveal timing mistakes. So because it's basically making as short of a sound as the click, you can tell a lot more easily if you are directly on or off of the click. Weirdly enough, it reveals your dynamics more because everything is just short and concise. It also helps train your rebound control, something you don't get as much on the drum set. Like these are key things to drumming that make you way better. If you can improve your timing, if you can improve your technique in rebound control, if you can improve your dynamics and then take that to the drum set, those are key pillars that separate drummers from beginner, intermediate to pros. Let's use me as an example, right? If I play doubles on the snare, sounds pretty good, I think, right? If I play them on the pad, I can like hear my left hand lagging way more on the pad. I didn't notice that as much on the snare drum. And guys, this is not just me doing like some YouTube bullshit. Like this is what real drummers have done as well. Neil Peart has studied with Freddie Gruber, where after, you know, being one of the most legendary drummers ever, he wanted to work on his movement around the kit. And so with Freddie Gruber, he basically looked at his playing for 5-10 minutes and then started him on exercises off of the drum set for like the first week. They didn't even touch the drum set. So the question here is what do I do on the pad? And the answer can be just about anything. But for me personally, I really like playing rudiments. Like rudiments really reveal to me the difference between my dynamics because they're always so accent and ghost note based. There's a lot of left note doubles in there, reveal some of my technique. So it's dynamics, technique, timing. I'm always playing to a click track as well. And if you're not sure what rudiments to be working on, there's really easy solutions. Like for this, I'll just set in, I want to work on them for 15 minutes. I'm going to choose between 90 and 120 BPM and then just start. And I can just play along with whatever it gives me here. And by the way, this is like a totally free app that I made for you. It's called the Pad Gauntlet. If you want to try it out, I've just put some of my favorite rudiment patterns. You can play along on the pad totally for free. Link in the description below. All right, this next habit is a modern day dilemma. Some would call it an epidemic. That some would be me. And I'll illustrate it for you real quick. Was that entertaining?
Are you not entertained?
Hopefully the answer is yes. Are you a better drummer because you just watched that? The answer is most certainly no. And guess what? That is one of the biggest problems that we have today. There are so many educational videos out there that you are watching right now on your toilet, on the couch. That's probably the only two places you are right now, let's be honest. And we think that just by watching the videos, we're becoming a better drummer. If the video is not influencing your behavior, it's not changing what you do, then it's just entertainment, it's not education. You aren't getting better. And that's habit number 3. Too many drummers confuse entertainment with education. The difference between it being educational and entertaining is up to you. If you watch this video and then never try incorporating the pad into your practice or uncovering your weaknesses or make any substantial changes to your routines at all, then it was just entertaining. That's still valuable, but it's far less valuable than if you actually take the wisdom and incorporate it. The idea here is not saying, hey, stop watching YouTube videos. It's that we've got a dangerous ratio. So many drummers spend 20 hours watching drum content and then 20 minutes practicing and then wonder why they suck. If you can watch one video and say, cool, these are actually like some concrete things I can take away. Now let me go spend way more time practicing those things as opposed to just watching another one, watching another one, watching another one. In my drum school, we are very intentional about, yes, we have video lessons, but from every video lesson, there are action steps to take afterwards. Because what we don't want is for people to just go through our courses and just watch them. And this is the danger. It feels productive, but if you aren't taking action, it's a waste of time. So try this new rule instead. For every 10 minutes of a video that you watch, I want you to spend 30 minutes practicing. It can be practicing something from that video or not, but the idea here is that you are optimizing for implementation, not information. And this next habit is going to help ensure that the practice time you spend will actually be you getting better. Because this is one of the biggest issues to solve for, is that drummers are spending time on the kit, but it's not amounting to much. And that's because a lot of your practices look like this. So yeah, it might not surprise you that that is not good practice. So in 2008, there was a study with 1,700 people where it gave them the exact same diet and exercise routine to follow. But the only thing that they tracked during that entire study was just the difference in results between the people who logged what they ate every day and the people who didn't. And do you want to know what the difference was between these two people? The group who wrote down what they ate every day lost twice as much weight as the group who didn't. You could be getting twice the results if you just changed one thing about your practice. And this bad habit is practicing without tracking any measurable progress. What gets measured gets improved. Most drummers are just under the impression that you can only measure tempo, right? Okay, I played this beat at 70 BPM on day 1, but then on day 5, I was playing at 110. So awesome, I made progress. And yes, that's true. Congrats. But that is not the only thing to track, and it can actually be a danger. I work with my students every single week on our mentorship calls, where I hear them say, in the early stages, when you guys were having me slow stuff down, I felt like I was taking a step backwards in my drumming, and that's why I was so resistant to it. But once I actually listened and did slow my stuff down, I realized how much more I could concentrate on improving all the other aspects of my drumming so that I could then speed things up much quicker. And this is the misconception, is that if we are slowing things down, we're taking steps backwards in our drumming. Tempo is a metric to track, and it's a good metric to track, but it's not the full picture. The next metric to track is time without mistakes. So if you're practicing, in the early stages, it's probably how many measures can I play without mistakes, right? If you can get 1 and then you can get 3 measures without mistakes, that's great. Once you get more familiar with the pattern, it starts to become how long, how many seconds, how many minutes can I play without mistakes? Can you play this groove for 2 minutes without any mistakes? The next thing you can track is your dynamics, right? Are you able to play this? Are you able to play it at a medium dynamic? Are you able to play it at a loud dynamic? This walks you through another set of checklists to make sure you are internalizing things at a pro level. These are things that you can measure, just 3 different categories. Just start there, very simple. You might be thinking, okay, so now I've got to track this across the 15 different exercises that I practice every single week. Guys, I would encourage you to practice a low single-digit number of things within a month. If you can lock in on very specific exercises and measure them through 3 different categories and stick with it for 30 days, good God, you are going to make so much progress. This is so important to me that I've spent thousands of hours building this into my online drum school, DBO Academy, where we are very intentional about like, follow this path. This is your drumming path. Only go through these lessons in order, and everything has a practice journal to it, so you can log your practice. You can try it, by the way, free trial, link in the description. There's a million free things in the description, so go have a blast in there. Now, as you know, Travis Barker is my father and my all-time hero and mentor, best friend, and someone who I've never met. And this is a concept that he actually gets on a level that I honestly can't even commit to. He's gone on record saying that he's gotten all the tattoos that he's gotten so that he couldn't get a job outside of music. And it really worked out for him. To put it really simply, guys, is pressure creates growth. And the habit that so many of us have is we just don't have consequences for failure when it comes to our drumming. And that is not saying you need to punish yourself and treat yourself poorly by any means. I know as any of us building the drumming skill, it is a daunting task that is a mental battle a lot of the time. So I don't want to enforce more negativity on you, but what I want is to give you checkpoints so that you can create stakes within your drumming, because I know for me, that is when I have grown the most in drumming. When I had to audition for I Prevail, I learned double kick in 3 weeks because that's how far out the audition was. I didn't know how to play double kick. I had to buy a double bass pedal and learn it in 3 weeks' time. And you know what I did? I practiced for 6 hours every single day, and I learned it. I've never made more progress in a 3-week period of time than I did then. And that's because there were real consequences. If I didn't pass that audition, then I would lose a potentially massive gig. But the thing is, like, we can create these scenarios for ourselves. Not that you have to practice for 6 hours every single day, but we can create these mini cycles. One of my favorite things to have my students do is just say, hey, on one day of every week, commit to posting a video of your drumming. Your brain shifts. It goes into performance mode. If I don't play this beat that I'm working on this week, people are gonna see it. Because remember, you have to post this video regardless of if it's up to your standards or if it's not. So your brain is going to work really hard to try to get it as good as humanly possible. I mean, one of the really easy things to do, guys, is just join a program that has accountability, where you can have a drum coach watch over you. This could be in-person lessons. This could be online. You can join an online mentorship or online coaching, like anything where people can actually watch your playing and give you feedback. Not only is that a great pattern because you're playing something and they're giving you feedback, but you will want to perform for your drum coach in the same way as if you were posting a video. So I would highly encourage you to take one thing from this video, make an actual change, and you will see real progress, just like I did in the I Prevail audition. And if you want to see the system that helped me become a pro drummer, well then click this video right here.